Hi, my name is Keith Cooper. In this short video I'm going to have a look at making panoramic prints on the Epson WF-C8690. It's an office printer, but it's a 4-colour pigment ink printer, and some experiments I've done, I've got some other videos on this as well, suggest that for some users, commercial printmaking, this may actually be a reasonable choice if you need print volume and you don't want to use a small printer. This takes largish ink carts and is quite fast, and you can stack lots of sheets at the back. But anyway, this particular example, I'm going to try and do a panoramic sheet, a panoramic print. This is a length I've cut from a roll of 13-inch luster style paper. Now, from checks looking at prints with luster style papers, it's not great, the performance. It's not up to the performance something like an Epson P700 or even the 8550, the Tank one I looked at, which they all have more inks, but this is pigment ink. If you can find 13-inch canvas, and I did have a roll of it somewhere but I lost it, you can actually trim off lengths, and I'm going to think you can probably do canvas printing perfectly well on this. I've printed sheet canvas with it and it loads perfectly well. But anyway, this is a panoramic print. Now, I've trimmed the paper very carefully. The maximum page length that's allowable on the Mac driver, may be different on a PC, is 1.2 meters. So you can't do longer prints than that without editing the printer's PPD file. Now, I'm not going to go into details of editing PPD files. If you know how to do it, you can do it. But it is the sort of thing that if you do carelessly, you can mess up an awful lot of things. I have used it in the past to get longer page lengths out of Epson printers. Have a look at my written review of the D700 if you want some more information on it. But anyway, I'm limited to 1.2 meters. Fine, here's a length of paper. I've trimmed it very carefully. I've used a roller cutter to make sure I get a perfectly square end on the paper. Because that's probably going to be one of the major problems. I have no idea how well this will work. We will see what happens when I make a print. How am I going to load the paper up? Well, I've set the rear feed for 13-inch width. There's obviously no roll attachment here. And I'm going to put the paper, going to tip it over slightly. Be careful you don't crease it. It is prone to creasing. But we'll just, after a bit of wrangling, I've got the paper loaded up here. I've leant it over forwards so it's going straight in. What I would say is if you get the chance, lay the paper out flat. I only trimmed this an hour or two ago and it's still got a bit too much curl for my liking. So take care with it. It does crease quite easily, but certainly if you were using canvas or something like that, you won't have this curl problem. So one of the difficulties of working with 13-inch paper, because 13-inch paper rolls come on quite tight rolls, so there's quite a tight curl. Take the paper off, let it relax. Now, I've lined it up, I've just let it here, I've tried to keep it roughly straight, and I'm going to have to adjust this as the print goes through. I'm also going to have to take care of what happens when the print comes out here as well. So this is very experimental. We will see whether it works. But I've got the paper lined up fairly straight. That looks there. That should feed okay. I'm now going to go to computer where I've opened up an image, panoramic image. This is a panoramic view. I took multiple shots. It's just north of San Francisco on the Californian coast. Lovely misty day. I believe that's the Russian River, the entrance to it there. Anyway, I've opened this. I've set in the print settings, I've created a custom media size. And a custom media size is set to the maximum allowable size, which is 330mm or 13 inches by 1.2 meters. So that's as big as you can actually get with this. Now I've sized this image, dropped it into the space here, and I'm going to print it normally using Photoshop. Now the image is actually one I created for a larger print, So scaling it down like this causes no problem, just means I'm printing at a reasonable resolution. Well, I noticed this one was actually for a slightly smaller print, because I've noticed that the resolution here is 266 pixels per inch. Well, doesn't really matter. We're just experimenting here. But anyway, I've got this set up. I've got everything set up. I'm using Photoshop here to print because for a custom size. I've loaded the paper. I've set a user-defined size on the page here. And immediately, slight problem is that the maximum width that you can set for paper size here is 329 millimeters, whereas in the driver you can set just over 330 millimeters. Check for things like this when you're testing stuff like this. It does cause problems, it can cause mismatches. We may get a paper size error when I do it because this is set for 329, this is set for 330. Such are the vagaries of trying to do large prints on printers like this. I try it on lots of different printers and there's always some little gotcha or something here, but be careful with the sizes. We've got a size here set that's set for custom size, so that should be okay. Now I'm just going to go print and see what happens. We've got data. Now I hear a warning beep and it tells me load appropriate paper. It hasn't loaded the paper properly, so I'm now going to go back and reset the paper size on this. Well, a couple of attempts at loading paper did not work very well there. It's thin paper and it's got too much of a curl on it. So what I'm trying next is I have a sheet of very thin card, A3 plus, 13 inch by 19 inch. I've loaded that in, pushed it right the way down, set the paper size to 329 by 1200 millimeters, and then on top of that have slid in the sheet of the photo paper here. So the photo paper is now loaded fully, and hopefully when we print again, the photo paper and not the card will be drawn into the printer. Waiting for the light to flicker here. Data on its way. This tells us something's going to happen. Print appears to be going through. And what's more, the print is coming out. We've got a bit of a skew on the start here, but the paper will need trimming again. If you're going to try things like this, you're going to need to experiment a bit. Start with shorter custom lengths, maybe rather than a full meter, 1.2 meter. I'm also having to print at normal print quality here as opposed to the best print quality, which I would normally choose for printing on this, printing images. It looks fairly good. We'll see pretty quickly whether it works or not. But to say anything like this is a bit of a kludge. So I think canvas with a good straight edge, which hasn't got curl in it, would probably print very well through this. This photo paper, this is a 275 gram photo paper by Photospeed from the UK, I believe, if I remember correctly, needed this sheet of cardboard, which is from another pack of paper somewhere, just to line things up to get it to feed better. There was just too much curl for it. But you get things like that. But anyway, we have a print coming out here quite quickly. And I'm going to suggest that the quality is good enough for putting up on the wall in an office. It is not the sort of quality I would look if I was putting the print into an exhibition, but then this is an office printer. And we are done. Right, well, I would suggest handling your prints a bit better than this as well. But there we go. There is a 1.2 meter print done on an Epson Workforce office printer. Print quality looks pretty reasonable. I say the paper is a bit thin. I would prefer a thicker paper for this, but it works. Well, after a bit of fussing about with that. Anyway, I hope these short videos are of interest. I'm doing the ones on this printer as much as anything to show what is possible with printers. Now remember, I've got a custom profile, ICC profile I've made for this paper that enhances print quality. If you're doing normal printing with this and just using the normal colour mode, you're unlikely to get particularly good results, colour or black and white. It does make okay pictures, and it makes big pictures. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you find it helpful. I'm going to cover lots more stuff. I'm just doing a load on this printer while it's here because it will be going back to Epson at some point. So thank you.